supportive of LGBT people. It's the state level, we don't have that protection, and we never had. And we have to really find out what's going on with Amendment 1 by the Attorney General, and then we can take it to the federal courts to protect ourselves.
What are some of the upcoming events that you will be having with the LGBT?
Well, this month, we just, on October 11th, which is National Coming Out Day. And we do this at the universities and businesses around the country. It's a national program where people can come out and say, I am Roberta Dunn. I used to be another person, but now I am. If it's a gay person, you can come out and say, I am gay, and let his family know, and things like that. So this is a very, very big thing. It's very big in the schools especially. So we just had that. And the next thing coming up is, as we talked a little bit about, is TDOR, Transgender Day of Remembrance, which is a memorial service we have on November 20th all around the world for transgender people that have been murdered because they're transgendered. 7 of them this year have been murdered, and we don't have an identity for them. We don't even know who they are because they changed their name, but they didn't do it legally, or haven't gone through the full processes, or they've been so murdered so badly we can't determine who they are. One transgender person was stabbed to death in her face until she died. Another person was stabbed 7 or 8 times in the chest. The majority of them have been shot and murdered. So it's really a passionate thing. We've had 2 transgender people here murdered in the Charlotte area, one about 2005, I didn't know her before we got here, and another one 2 years ago, Toni Alston, who was shot in her home and got out of her home, knocked on her neighbor's door, the neighbor wouldn't open the door, but called 911. When 911 came, then the emergency responders came, and she told them, the police and the emergency people, 3 things. She says, 1, she was an African American, and her murderer was a slender African American wearing a gray sleeveless t-shirt, and she said she knew him. And then before they could save her, she bled to death. Now, what hurt, I had to go to Mayor Fox to get an appointment with the Chief of Police, Rodney Monroe, and I took Tony's sister in, and we talked with them about this case and how much evidence they left behind at the crime scene. Like, it wasn't a thorough, clean sweep of the area. They didn't take her purse, they didn't take her diary, they didn't take anything like that that would have helped them. They stopped 3 people that night. The police stopped in her neighborhood that met that description, and they did not take any of them in for questioning. I don't know what they asked them. Did you kill Tony? No. Okay, go away. That may be a little unfair to say that, but it happened, and the case is still unsolved. Still unsolved. And the police never asked her. When she said, I know who killed me, they never asked her what was the person's name.
When you get a situation like that, how does that make you feel looking at that very same situation? I mean, because that can very well happen to yourself or someone else. I mean, you know what I'm saying? How do you really look? I mean, how are you looking at that situation, and how are you improving that case?
Education. We meet with the police. The state 2 years ago passed an ordinance that all law enforcement officers across the state of North Carolina had to take training in LGBT domestic violence. 2 couples that are married together and had to have training. So the police, they get regular, I shouldn't use the word normal, they get domestic violence training for people that are in heterosexual relationships, but they always ignored LGBT or same-sex relationships in it. So the state put that training program out there. Because of my interface with the police department, I was asked to come in and review the training program before it was sent out to the police department. We made numerous changes to it. The state did include my recommendations that were very homophobic. And they showed 2 men laying in bed together. I said, do you show a man and woman in bed together? They said, no, we expect that. I said, what do you think 2 men do that are married? What do you think 2 women do that are married? Remove this is homophobic. They showed very nasty pictures of transgender people. They also removed all them and a lot of the verbiage that was in there. So we do have this training now. So that's very good. They're getting it. For the training program here in Mecklenburg, the police department wanted a video lead-in, and I got to do the video lead-in, thanking the police officers and asking them to take this training program with the same respect they would for any other training program they got. So this is important. It's always an inch-by-inch battle. You do one thing one day, and you have to redo it again the next day and try it over again and keep working. But there is changes coming. Their changes are coming. You can feel it. It's going to happen. But there's always be someone out there who will hate people, and we can't legislate that away. We just pray to God that it does go away.
Does that kind of like sway a person from actually coming out, knowing that they may have to deal with these types of incidents in their life? I mean, I know you have like a coming out, and it's like, is it as easy now to actually come out when you see incidents like what you're talking about?
It's very scary. I used to wonder when I would leave my house, what would happen? Will the neighbors hate me? Will they throw rocks at my cars and things like that? And now I don't worry about it anymore. I don't even think about it anymore. But there's always that instant when you see something happen, someone gets murdered, someone gets beat up. A lesbian couple about 4 or 5 months ago was denied service in a restaurant because they were a lesbian couple. They didn't want them. They wouldn't serve them food. They wouldn't serve them drinks. I mean, you know, so you never know. Every time you walk out the door, walk into a new establishment, you never know what's going to happen. I go with an open mind and an open heart. A trans friend of mine in South Carolina was at a store buying clothes, and she wanted to go into the fitting room. These are private fitting rooms. It's not, you know, you go into the room, you're in there by yourself. You're not gawking her, and they wouldn't allow her to do it. They told her she couldn't do it. And she was really upset. She posted it on Facebook. I got it. I contacted her, and I said, you know, you want me to contact these people? She says, Roberta, will you take the lead on this? So I drove down, I called the store manager, made an appointment with him, and drove down to Florence, South Carolina, walked into the store. We had a nice long conversation. And at the end of the day, he apologized. He called the person up and apologized, gave the person a gift card, and said they would change their policies. The first thing he wanted to do, he says, we'll create a separate area for trans people to come in and use, you know, rather than the regular fitting room. Right. And I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think we tried separate but equal back in the 50s and the 60s. This isn't going to fly today either. It didn't work then. We want equal rights for everyone, and the light went off, and he got it then. So that's a change. So every day you go out, it's a challenge.
You were selected 2011 Person of the Year. What does that mean to you?
It was a phenomenal honor. It was by the Q Notes, which is a LGBT supportive newspaper across both Carolinas. And to get that recognition was a tremendous honor, that's all I can say. I was surprised, I was shocked, but it was a great feeling to have the recognition that you're doing something for the good of the community, and to be recognized for it is just is an honor, that's all I can say.
Is that a local or is that nationwide?
That is across the Carolinas, North and South Carolina. So I was the Person of the Year across the North and South Carolina for the work I do, and that was, like I said, it's a lot of territory, and it's a lot of houses, it's a lot of people. So I just said, wow, thank you.
I heard you had some activities in Washington. You do a lot of things, Roberta.
Yes, I do. HRC, the Human Rights Campaign, was trying to get Senator Kay Hagan of North Carolina to co-sponsor the Employment Non-Discrimination Act in the Senate, and to include transgender people in that. She wasn't very familiar with transgender people. She didn't understand it. She said if we were helping gays and lesbians, is to cover it. They didn't understand that we are not gays, we're not lesbians. Sometimes they are gay and lesbian, LGBT, or transgender people, but the vast majority aren't. So they wanted someone to go in and talk with her. So myself and a few other people got together, including a couple transgendered friends of mine. And she gave us 15 minutes, Senator Kay Hagan, to go in and tell our stories. 45 minutes later, we're still at her office, and her assistant is trying to drag her out for her next meeting. But the next day, The very next day, she co-sponsored employment non-discrimination, including transgender people. So HRC gave me and another person an award for getting her to switch her position on that. Last year, when Mayor Fox's re-election, I was asked to be on his re-election advisory committee, and jumped in and said, let me help bring out the LGBT community, support you, Mayor, you support us so well, so let's see what we can do. And he won in a landslide. We're very happy about that. And then I got a letter in the mail from the President of the United States and the First Lady inviting me to the White House for last year's holiday reception. And that was just a phenomenal honor. The President was at Fort Hood in North Carolina that morning. We got there at 2:30 in the afternoon, and he was at Fort Hood honoring our troops. And then flew in on Marine One onto the White House lawn while we were in there, and he landed on the White House lawn. And that was just a powerful moment to see that happen. You know, this is our President coming in, and we're at his home, and he's going to come visit with us. And that was just wonderful. So that was great to have recognition as a transgender person, as one of the community leaders across the country, to be brought into the White House. And that was just over the top. That's all I could say.
If you had to change something in our community, what would it be?
Well, that's a hard one. I wish I could just have something passed that says equality for everyone. We shouldn't have to have everyone fighting for a little bit. The LGBT community, the African American community was done in the 60s. The Latino community now is still fighting for rights and civil rights and the right to come to our country. We need to have this equality for everyone. I'm part of a program here in Charlotte. This is the 12th class they've had, called the Leadership Development Initiative, and we're class 12. And it's seeing people's minds and hearts change to enter work with. And this is the first year that it was originally designed to mend the bridges, or to put the bridges out there for the white businessmen and the African American business people to get together and learn discrimination and try to eliminate it in the workforce. And this is the first year they reached out to the LGBT community. They reached out to the community center and wanted to bring in LGBT people. And O'Neill, who's our city, or now he's our operations manager, he's going and I'm going. And when they first said, well, we would like to send Roberta Dunn, and he says, that's a white woman, right? Well, we want more diversity than that. We have a lot of that. And they said, well, you never met Roberta. She will bring diversity.
Roberta, I hate to end this show, but we're running out of time. I really appreciate you coming on. And anytime you want to come back, just let me know. You're always welcome to the Paul Brown Show.
Paul, thank you. It's always a pleasure, and time really flies when we talk, doesn't it?
It does. You know, and you have some awesome topics, and you're very informative, and I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the show, and you be encouraged. Thank you.